Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, excellent. Sorry, guys. I think we had, as usual, last minute challenges, but I think we're back on track now. You can you can hear me here. I think I could hear me. Okay. I think now all is sorted. You can hear me well, right? Excellent. I think I have Brian here. I have Afonso, and I have a lot of people actually who have joined already. Excellent, guys. Welcome, 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 welcome to this webinar. And then, and I'm delighted to have all of you in here, and we're gonna have some great time together, right? So I think, as you can see, we have Afonso Ferreira, who is one of the speakers, but we also have Brian Mafanga, and then we have also people that will be joining from from LinkedIn, but also from YouTube. Yeah, this is what we would be going for. So, guys, so if you do me a favor, so as you hear, so feel free to introduce yourself. So in the room, so what we're gonna do, we can be just 4 minutes, past the time. Just gonna allow people to join in, and in between, what I want you to do is to just introduce yourself. So tell me where you're joining from, and then I mean, what's your company, and just have some conversation there, and we'll be able to find out a little bit more who we have in the room. Yeah, if that's okay for you guys to do, that would be perfect. And I can see as well if some people, obviously, I only want to see the camera uh, from from the speakers. So and also the speaker will be muted. But all the other guys, if you can just go on mute, so I would very much appreciate it, guys. So if this is okay with you, okay, excellent, brilliant. So I'm just gonna let people join in. So as we moving on, and just have a general introduction about the webinar. So what we're gonna be talking about in here. So guys, last time we talked about how we could better manage wind services. So the interface between the OEM but also the wind operators. And today I want to go a little bit deeper, right? So if you imagine, for example, a world where you have your wind turbine operating like a well-oiled machine, generating maximum output, but also experiencing minimal downtime and delivering uncompromised profitability over the entire life cycle. So this is actually what we want to be talking about today. It's not just a dream. This is a reality actually waiting to be unlocked for potentially some of you. And what I brought for you in here, it's Afonso Faria, who actually will be talking to you, going through what how they handle the work in terms of the proactive management approach. So for the company, and then we will be able to ask the question. So if I can stop at this point, Afonso, can you hear me? If yes, so if you could please just unmute yourself and introduce yourself as well, that'd be good. So that'd be good. And I'm gonna have the same as well for Brian. So Afonso, can you hear me? Yes, Afonso
Yeah.
is
Hi,
here.
Tony. I can hear
Okay.
you. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm
Good.
good. Thank you. Yeah.
Excellent. So maybe you want to have a very quick 2 minute introduction. Oh, less than 2 minutes. Let's say.
Yeah.
So,
Very
so
short.
yeah.
So Afonso Faria, CEO of AFF Wind Services. AFF Wind Services, we supply management, supervision, quality consultation, and all the expertise and knowledge into the renewable wind farms. We've been around for nearly 20 years now, deeply involved all processes from servicing to commissioning to installation to management. And that's us now bringing the knowledge to you, sharing our knowledge and sharing our expertise also into a wider market, instead of keeping it in very niche. That's us sharing now all the information and stepping out there and showing what it is that we've been doing and how we are doing it. Um, Currently, or at the moment in Finland, but the company is based in Portugal. And as everyone knows, within this market, in this industry, if you're not willing to travel, then you're not part of it. it's a traveling world when it comes to renewables.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So do I have Brian as well? Brian Mafanga. Brian, are you? I think you, yeah, Brian is connected. Oh, let me unmute you, Brian, because I think you can't unmute yourself. 1 second here. Yep. Okay. Now you should be able to speak, Brian. Brian, can you hear me? I believe I almost heard you. Okay. Okay. Yes, Brian.
Good afternoon to everyone. Can you hear me, Tony?
I can hear you very well.
So
now.
I'm having a very bad network issues on my side. I couldn't even get and on. But I can. I do work very well.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I think your signal is breaking. So
Hello?
have another go. But if not, what we're gonna do, we're probably gonna move on and allow you maybe to properly introduce yourself later on in the program. So this way, so we can give you the chance, or maybe in between, if you can if there is a way you can stabilize your connection, that would be helpful. Yeah, Brian? Yeah, I think Brian is struggling. That's fine. So we're just gonna carry on. I think Brian is struggling for now. So we're just gonna carry on. And so what I have for you, I'm just gonna have a poll, a small poll for you, very quick one, just to get some idea of who is in the room and obviously what you know about the topic. And I really appreciate if you can obviously connect. I know people in on LinkedIn, you can't necessarily run it because we are on Zoom, but I'll get the team to maybe put the question into the LinkedIn and see what you could say. So let me just launch the poll now and see what we get. So yeah, yep, I've launched it now, and what I'm going to leave is minutes or two, no more than that, just to see. What I want to see is just a couple of pitch ideas, responses. So I would encourage you. I appreciate that not all of you are part of the sector. So not all of you necessarily will be able to fully respond to that. But if you could nevertheless, so have an attempt and so that we could see where we getting at. And that would be appreciated as well. Yeah. So at the moment, I can see nobody has, okay, 2 people have responded. Excellent. So can we get something more more than that than 2 people? So I can see I have 3 now. Excellent. Good. I think shortly we'll be able to share that as well with people. So to see who has been able to do it. Yeah, good. Not a problem. 6, 7. Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it for another 30 seconds and then we can yeah, stop it and I can show the picture what we're getting. Okay. Let me end the poll here and then share the feedback with you. So I'm just going to end it right now and share with you. And you could see, yeah, you could definitely see with me. So the question is, how important is a proactive operational approach? Proactive approach for Winsight in achieving your business goal. So I can see extremely important. Yeah, 6 people saying that. Very important. And not at all important. So just one person to say that. I imagine that person may not be working in the sector. That's absolutely fine. That's okay. Yeah, but it gives you an idea. So now let me now move to the second one and say which factor is most critical when evaluating Winsight operational performance. So what we see here. So okay, that's interesting for you to look at, Afonso. So yeah, so we're talking about overall profitability, returns, inadequate project management skills. But actually, we have reducing costs and expenses, 33%, and sustainability environment impact, 33%. So first of all, we had a large majority of people saying that it's very important to properly manage your site, absolutely. But also on the second question, what we find in that is people are actually really concerned by the costs and expenses. You know, how can we properly handle it, and sustainability impact. So it gives you an idea. So you were able to see the polls, right? So let me know. So I would appreciate if you could let me know in the comment section, and that would be good. Yeah. Okay. Yes. All clear. Brilliant. Superb. So let me just stop sharing now. Okay. So Afonso, any initial feedback on that, on the poll that you've been able to see? Does it give you any idea? Was he expected?
It is a little bit expected. It is the reality also, and I can see that at least most of the people that is joining us and participating, we all understand here the business in the industry, and yeah. So how critical is this factor for the overall operational performance? It all comes down to costs, and the more effective you are, the more costs you can reduce, and automatically the footprint, the CO2 emissions, and the footprint that we bring upon on the environment when we are doing the construction, when we're building, it reduces also because we have less time. We use less time for the construction if we are more effective. That is also what we strive to. That is what we aim at, to be as efficient as possible, to reduce those costs and reduce thus the time on project as well. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That's fine. That's fine. Excellent. So what we're going to move on to now, guys. So what I want to do with you is to move into the presentation of AFF. But one thing that I realized, I don't know for you, but at times when you go to those webinars, so you will see people talking about their industry. So can you hear me? I can see background noise. Yeah. Are we all together?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. So yeah, and what I was saying, yeah. So we come across speakers, companies, we talking to them. But today I wanted to do something slightly different, right? Because we know that there is a lot of information out there regarding solar. So for sure. So, but when it comes to wind, it's not necessarily the same thing. So how is it like to be in actually the shoes of an entrepreneur evolving into the wind sector? You know, how does he look like? How does he look like? So what does he see? And how does actually Afonso obviously build the company AFF, a wind service? So this is what I say to Afonso, listen, you know, I want to do a slightly different form of presentation in here. So I like to do it in the shape of basically you taking us to a journey. You know, how is it like to be you, Afonso? So building the company and moving that forward. So I'm just going to play a clip in here for you and showing you Afonso in different settings so you understand it. And on the back of that, we're going to have some questions that we want to have for Afonso. And after that, we obviously would take questions and get Brian involved. Hopefully, Brian Mafanga has been is back and has a better connection. But we're just going to proceed from there, yeah? So allow me to share my screen. And if there is anything you can't, if you can't understand, if you can't see, just let me know as well. But keep on introduce yourself into the room and network. That's what it's all about. Can you see my screen, everybody? It'd be great if I can hear a yes or no. Yeah, I think. Let me just.
Yeah, we can. At least I can see it.
Okay, excellent. Let me just play that now. Yeah. So I'm just gonna say. Oh, 1 second. I want to see. Yeah. Can I share? I just want to make sure that, yeah, I've ticked the boxes. That's fine. I've ticked the boxes for share with the sound. Let's go. So it's about 7 minutes, yeah? So oops. 1 second. Now we go.
Hi guys, so this is where it all began. Serra Candeeiros, V93 megawatts. In 2005, this was one of the biggest, most producing wind farms in Europe. And this is where I've started. This is where eventually AFF Wind has started. On this wind farm, top of this mountain, in the center of Portugal, the silver coast of Portugal, that's where it all began. So I've taken this trip today just to show you guys that it's important to understand where we've started. It's also important to understand what has made us, what makes us keep going. So close to home from me, I decided to take this nice bank holidays, nice weather, taking a nice drive on the bike and show you guys where I've started to work on the wind turbines 2006. This wind farm was built in 2005, it was extended in 2006, and this is where I've started. Thank you guys for following me. See you around. Maybe whoever is in Portugal, give me a ring. We can always go for a cup of coffee and reminisce on the old times, but also talk about the new times and talk about what's coming. One of the things that I personally want to accomplish is to be able to be part of the servicing teams and support the service teams on this particular wind farm. This one where I've started, that is the one that I want to support. This is the one where I've done so much work and learned so much. This is where I want to put the servicing team in to support local operation and management and maintenance and support the operational status of this wind farm. Thank you guys. So here I am, back home, back in the office, working away. It's early in the morning, it's only 6:15 in the morning. I like to start early. Today's a bank holiday, so I can actually, in bank holidays, I can actually come earlier to the office as my daughter is still asleep. She doesn't need to get ready to go to school, so I give her a kiss and I go on my way, step on my scooter, drive to the office. So when I'm home, I try to do, of course, work. I work nearly the full day, but then I try to enjoy also what makes me ticking. That's motorcycles. If it's not on the Harley, then it's on the 125 scooter. Either way, it's on two wheels. Driving motorcycle is one of those things that gets my heart going. So here I am. It's Saturday. It's time to go home. Doesn't mean that every Saturday is time to go home. Sometimes home is a hotel or a house or an apartment or whatever it is that you are staying. Home is where you make yourself feel comfortable at the end of the day. Anyway, this weekend it's different. It's time to go home, where I have my family, my daughter, my bike. That is where I'm going tomorrow. So recap of the week. It's been a good week over in Pori. Just filling in for one of my site managers. He needed to go home for some personal issues, some personal affairs, so I stepped in. It's always good to visit sites, it's always good to give my input. For some reason, people always feel accommodated when I'm around, always feel listened to when I'm around, even though I'm not really that people's person. I really am not, but nevertheless, that seems to be the way that I move myself forward. Just listening to people, supporting, and always being available for everyone, anyone, at any time. So, Saturday in Finland, Pori. Last Saturday I was in Finland, Rahe, that is all the way up north, 6 hours away, driven all the way. And the way I drive is the way that I am. So I've driven in silence 6 hours this week, last Tuesday night. Because that's the best way that you can listen, is when you are in silence. Now going home, back to my office, back to the lab, work on more, project more, program and plan more, and make sure that my guys feel that they are being looked after. Make sure that they know that I am working on more work for them. It's been a rough start of the year. I wouldn't say a rough year because it's actually a beautiful year. Thankful for that. The growth that I've had over the last years and last the way that I've grown, it's amazing. But I need to make sure that my guys are kept looking after. I need to make sure that they are, that there is work for them and they have more work. So more clients, more customers, more contracts. And the same thing, wind turbines, renewables. That's what we do. We build them, we consult, we support, we instruct, and we travel around. So thank you guys. I'll catch up later on once I'm at the airport perhaps, or once I'm maybe at home driving my bike. You never know, but for sure I'll be in touch. Take care.
Okay, so hopefully you have enjoyed the little video there. So I'm not showing it for Afonso before, so I'm sure he was discovering that as well. So yeah, thanks for that. So Afonso, I want to go through some questions for you to get to know you a little bit more. So how you build the AFF, and because what we're talking about here is what give you basically the idea of building this company in order to really help Windside's managers and also asset owners here, in order for them, as I say, to triple the profitability, which essentially what you guys are doing. Yeah. And I would just want to go through some set of questions. And what I would say also to people here, feel free to obviously ask questions if you have any, and my team would definitely pick them up, and we're gonna answer that to Afonso. And same thing as well. If there is some question as well on LinkedIn, so I'll ask the team to maybe relay that to us as well, and that would be much appreciated. So Afonso, so I want to go through some set of questions for you, if this is okay. And the first question that I will want to go through, I just want to find out, so far, I think I could safely say that you've had a long and successful career in wind energy. But what would you say first sparked your passion into this field, and what drive your leadership approach at AFF?
Well, first of all, I have to thank you, because that clip that you just shown was amazing. It was really amazing, and it shows a lot of who I am and how I am. And what sparks me into I grew into this industry naturally. It's just a natural growth from 2006 until now. Going through the several different countries, going through different departments, from servicing, from installation, from management, and realizing and understanding. I wouldn't say there's no flaws. Everyone does his best. Everyone does the way that is his best way of doing so. So it's not, there is never a good or a bad approach. It's simply sometimes it's more effective, less effective, but it depends on the way you look at it. So I've grown into it, and I've started to understand that there was, there were some areas that could be slightly improved, could be worked a little bit better. The way I work, and even when I was working as an installation supervisor, or even as a technician, is it doesn't matter what you do it the best way you can. So improve yourself. So learn. I remember when I was in Greece as a service technician, and I went over to Greece to help out a specific wind farm that had some issues, and the reliability was not that high, the performance was not that high. So I set out, and I wasn't better than the other guys. I mean, I'm a mechanical, some other guys are hydraulic, electrical. But then the work ethics is to me, and it's always been like that, is if you don't know, make sure you study, and if you don't understand, make sure you find out. So I would go through all those manuals. I would try to find out what is exactly the problem, what's the issue here, why is the turbine not working, and go through it, measure, understand. When I grew up, when I was growing up, going to my mechanical school, I had a mathematician the teacher, and he always told me, and this is something Dutch. I grew up in Holland. He always told me, meten is weten, means to measure is to know. So if you don't know, find out, measure things, study. So that's always been the way that I've worked. And as growing AFF, it came as a natural step. It wasn't like I stepped in 2006 into this business saying later on I'm going to have my company. I mean, being an entrepreneur was maybe a childhood wish, perhaps, not sure. Because I've always been the working man. I've always been the guy that done what needed to be done. I mean, it's like I said, with being a technician, if you need to do something, if you don't know what to do, then you just learn your way into it. And that's always been me. So AFF grew. It started out of necessity, perhaps just the market changing, and it started growing. And then as the company started to grow, I started to get more guys working for me and wanting to work with me. And that is then when the responsibility kicks in. And that is then when all of a sudden you're not yourself anymore, just looking out to get another project. But now there is a responsibility to build. And it's not to build for myself per se, it's to build for the guys that are with me, that are on my ship. I need to steer that ship. I need to take them to a better haven, and I need to make sure that they have work. So, and that is then when everything starts to kick in, that is what drives me. It drives me to get better, to work on sustainability. Of course, it is a plus factor, but making sure that the guys get there, making sure the guys learn more skills, get more knowledge, more experience, making sure they can pass on to someone else. That is what drives me. That's what ticks me. Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks for that. And I just wanted to know, because we're talking about here, so what is the best way to handle the wind side in order to make sure that you deliver value for your customer? So do you have any particular project or initiative where you would say this mindset that starts from you, then you pass on to the team, has been able to deliver outstanding results? If yes, I was wondering whether you could share that with us. So, and also, before you jump into that, I was just going to say, so people in the room, so please feel free to drop your questions. Obviously, we are in an intimate session here, but this is expected because that's exactly what I'm saying. So usually when we talk for other renewable energy sources, especially solar, so there's a lot more wide audience. And I know that firsthand because back in 2017, I actually wrote a book on wind energy. And I did that out of frustration because I was doing a research project and I just couldn't find the information I was looking for. And I decided, okay, if I can't find the information, let me actually write the book and create the material. So that's how obviously I came together and wrote that first book in 2017. I haven't done the second one yet, but obviously I'll be writing another book very soon. Maybe not on wind, but just to say that I know exactly what it's all about. But back to you. But yes, if you can, in the meantime, please, guys, so put in your question here. So we have time because we're all together all the way to 12:30. So we have still another hour, but obviously we'll finish early if there's no question. But I'm just wanted to say, any question that you have, please feel free to ask. I'm also going to be looking at LinkedIn as well and YouTube if there is any. But I was talking to you, Afonso, just wanted you to showcase, because I know I've shared a lot of things here and I've shown a video. Hopefully some of you liked it. We're going to obviously promote that on the platform. So that's just to tell you the little bit of story about who Afonso is and how obviously he built a team. But at the end of the day, it's about engineering, it's about facts and figures, So can you show us a proper project? You've taken that on, you've applied your philosophy, and you've delivered results.
Yeah, I can definitely show a little bit about the project. I can maybe share my screen. So the philosophy it's very simple, and it starts off with. Can I share my screen? Can I start sharing?
Yeah, I think you can share your screen now. So just look at that. If you click on share, it should be able to come up It's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
can see myself. That's fine. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you see it now, or you can
I
see
can
yourself?
see it now. I can see it very well now.
Okay,
Yeah.
but not yourself, right? You can see the presentation.
Yeah. Not just myself. Absolutely. I can see
No,
it.
so the philosophy is very simple, and it's really, it doesn't need to be complicated. We need to work as a team, and of course, having the knowledge and having the experience of having gone through the processes. So when we are talking about installation, cranes, the heavy work, most of my guys, they have that experience. They've walked that walk. So when we talk about, when we look into being more efficient, it's not about saving or cutting corners safety-wise. It's not about being quicker and not following the safety procedures, the correct procedures. It's about finding out where you can actually improve. So, and that is what we apply. Of course, as a team, we work, we make sure that the installation team, the crane teams, everyone that's involved, we all talk together, we work together, and we come up to find that solution to be a more efficient project, or to make a more efficient project. And in the end, save money, eat less time on the project, don't extend the project unnecessarily than it needs to, and walk away to the next one. So this is, for example, a project, this was in Sweden, and we had some target dates. So we started in August, and we were supposed to finish on the 15th of December. Project, there's a couple more target dates there when the installation is supposed to start and so on. But there is always some variables that even though you put them into a program, the wind and the weather, it's always a big variable that can delay us, that can stop us. So on this particular project, we had 19.29 days. This is shifts, 12-hour shifts on weather that we could not stop. But nevertheless, we had a couple more variables that we just needed to deal with that, and that was that we needed to change the configuration of the crane, something that was not accounted for. We had deliveries of components, blades that came in just in time, so we could not prepare them well enough, or not in front enough. But nevertheless, we managed, and this is the program in the beginning when we started the program, when we were supposed to finish. We actually finished 4 days before target. And main installation, and I have it here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if this is not too small, maybe. But main installation, we finished the main installation 10 days after the target the target day. But considering the 19 shifts, we actually saved 9 days there. Because if you look at an installation program that has 19 days extension because of bad weather, we only, instead of 19 days further ahead, we finished 10 days further ahead. So there was 9 days there where our proactive way of working, our way of talking with the guys, changing shifts every now and then, looking at the weather, looking at where can we improve with installation, with transport, with preparation works. That is where we gain time, and that is where we excel in. That is where our expertise comes in. That comes because of, again, we have done this. We have done the installation. We know all those processes, and we know what can be done, what cannot be done, and what should not be done. And what should not be done is we should never go into cutting corners safety-wise or procedures-wise. But we can be innovative. We can try to maybe start earlier, maybe catch a window here or a smaller window there, and that is how project keeps flowing. So that is how we manage it. That is how we do that. In the end, we finished the project 4 days before the target, and we mobilized earlier than planned. 4 days might not seem much. 4 days might not seem much, but installation-wise, cost-wise, those 9 days that saved us from additional fuel burning and fuel consumption that we need for our construction. So we have saved money there. We've been able to cut the costs there, just by saving the time, by being a little bit more quicker to install than the delays, the standbys have caused us. The 4 days in a project, it's not even a week, but money-wise, it can go in the hundreds of thousands of euros that we've saved on the project by simply demobilizing earlier than what the plan was. Most projects we hit the targets, most of them, not all of them. In some projects, we are delayed so much that we go over the target. And then that is where we need to be innovative. We can, as a site manager, you can sit back, you can sit there and you can write things down and you can report back to the project management, to the customers and to the sales teams. And you can say, listen, this is the delays, this is what's happening, this is where we're losing money, and that's it. And that is something that I always tell my guys, it doesn't matter what problem you have, you're going to write that down, you're going to stay there, you're going to report that back to everyone that needs to know, but there's always a solution coming with it. There's always a potential plan A, B, C, sometimes even plan X, but there's always another plan. Because if you don't have those plans, you're not managing. You're not managing if you are simply writing things down and reporting back to the budget controllers and the budget owners. That's not managing. Managing is when you take the full team, and trust me, not always are we aligned with supervision and installation and cranes and transport, but we need to talk together. And sometimes sometimes one claims the other one claims back, but in the end, we need to make it work on site. And that is where we put our biggest focus on, is teamwork, and to achieve that goal that we all want to achieve, and that is completion of the project.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for sharing that example. So saving 9 days, I can imagine how much money that will represent to the client. This is not insignificant, right? That's more than a week. So clearly, yeah. And I know that because back in my days, I've done a little bit of commissioning work for solar, and absolutely most of the time what we're hearing is people going beyond schedule and then having to mobilize additional resources to push it to the finish line. But if you're able to achieve that earlier, obviously speak for yourself. And I guess that's the reason probably you guys are having more and more projects that are coming your way. So I have to remind people that if I'm correct, so you started by yourself and now you're employing, what is that, 8 people you employing?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, very, very impressive. So what would you say is the biggest leadership challenge when it comes to implementing a culture of proactivity and also accountability across teams and across the wind site? What would you say?
I would say there is two main challenges, and that is one is overwhelming experience. And when I say, what I mean with that is that sometimes we've been doing things for so long, we are so good at what we do, we've been doing it for years, that we cannot see that there is a different way of doing it or a more efficient way of doing it. And we cannot see that maybe there is something that can be improved, because at the end of the day, we've been doing it forever, right? At least that's what gets into people's head, into their mentality, is really often is that I've been doing it for so long, I don't need another opinion. And the other one is the opposite, is that lack of experience. And that is, for example, one of my guys, he doesn't have, he comes from a different industry. He doesn't have that same experience, knowledge that most of us have, because we've done all that installation. We've done all the heavy work. We've been out there in the rain, in the cold, doing the installation. He doesn't necessarily have that because he comes from a different industry. So what I told him, and what I motivate him to is, okay, you don't have that, but you can study. So make sure that you know all the processes. Make sure that you study all your plans, that you know exactly where everyone needs to be and where everyone needs to be better at. And then supplement what your lack of experience with with more knowledge of the program and of the procedures. So, but that is also another factor, is that sometimes lack of experience, lack of knowledge, you'll simply not have enough portfolio to be able to find alternatives, and that needs to be then supplemented by, if you don't have that, that's fine, but then you need to understand, you need to know by heart the program. You need to know exactly how many days it takes to install and when it's going to install, so that you can find those gaps and you can fine tune everything.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for that. So I think I have some further questions. I've had a message from Brian saying that apparently he's going through load shedding, which unfortunately is quite common at the moment in South Africa, which is where Brian is actually based off. So he will struggle to join. So obviously send his apologies. but that's what life is. But like I usually say, so you have the plan, but when the plan doesn't work, you need to make a plan. So the plan that we're going to make just right now, so I'm just going to say, we now have Afonso all for ourselves, ask more questions. And I'm very pleased because I could see some people asking questions in the chat. So I'm going to start. I have some more questions for him, but I'm just going to start getting some questions from the audience so that we can get them involved. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think if you could please ask your question to Afonso. So, what I'd like to do, so if you're courageous enough, so guys, I think that, like I said, we're family here, right? So, if you could just unmute yourself and or maybe raise your hand, we unmute you and you can ask the question directly to Afonso. That would be good. So, who want to start? I definitely saw a couple of questions there. So, rather than me or Rashid, Brian reading it, or Janet, so maybe you want to obviously say that yourself. So there was a question from Mohammed. Who want to start? There was some question there. So what's the first question? Who asked the first question, Rashid?
Yeah, Tony. I think Mohammed asked the first question.
Excellent. So can we unmute Mohammed and then get him to ask the question? If there's I'm hoping that Mohammed, you're not shy, right? Nah, if you're shy, you're in the wrong room. I'm sorry. You're just gonna get over it. Let me just unmute you. Yeah, Mohammed.
Good morning. Good morning, Tony. Good morning,
How
everyone.
are you? Can you show your camera if it's possible?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and then I could see you were asking a beautiful question there, so we could go to that. Obviously, if the camera has a problem, that's fine. I just like it's always good to see. Yeah, I think I could see
it's
something.
kind of blurry, right?
That's okay. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it. Thank you for playing the game. I appreciate it. Yeah, what's your question, Mohammed?
Okay, all right, thank you. So I quite appreciate what the speaker has been saying, and I think so far I've been able to drive one or two motivations from some of his past history or something he had done at the past. So my question is just because when we look at let me take Nigeria for instance. When we look at Nigeria, we virtually have had any wind turbines. So I was thinking, is it due to financing? Because I believe our atmospheric condition is conducive enough to actually power such infrastructure. So I just want to know the reason why we don't have presence of such infrastructure in this part of Africa.
Yeah. So I think I'm sure I could be well positioned to answer that, but let me give a chance maybe to Afonso to at least have a take on it, because what you're saying here is the resource is here according to you, but you wonder why obviously it wouldn't be here. So okay, let me rephrase the question differently, Afonso. Is it something specific to wind that actually make it that it's more difficult to set up a wind project rather, for example, than solar? So what would you say, Afonso?
Yeah, there is definitely a difference there in planning and planning permits, and there is definitely a difference there in land owning and landowners. Governmental influence is also a big one. So the solar doesn't need, it has a less heavy structure when it comes to infrastructure. It has a less heavy need when it comes to that, and it's also for some reason, even though the solar takes up more space, it's easier to deal with when it comes to landowners, building permits. It's the process itself, and I don't know in Africa, but I assume it's the same if you're asking that question, because in Europe we face the same more or less the same. When it comes to wind infrastructure, it's not only the road that needs to go there, it's all the changes that needs to be done on the road, the route to the wind farm. If you are very remote, that's not such a big problem. But if you are more in close to cities, villages, then it becomes a little bit more complicated. You need more. You need to have more landowners involved. You need to have more modifications done to the road. But something simple also, when it comes to the wind and you build a wind farm, then the building permit needs to include the height of the blade, the tip of the blade, and that is sometimes something that is not always appreciated. To the eye, it's not appreciated to a lot of people, because when you look at a beautiful forest, a beautiful landscape, and you see all the windmills up there. For us to build those, the permit needs to be in place, and that permit needs to be approved by someone. And often that is a little bit more complicated. Solar, it's very simple. You just need to own the land. You get your permits. It's not simple, of course, but it's easier. You own the land, or you lease the land. You build your road towards it. Your road doesn't need to be as heavy constructed as for the wind farm, just because the nature of the components. Of course, you still need the infrastructure when it comes to the electricity lines and power output lines, substations, and so on. But you don't have that permitting issue towards the height, also towards the visibility, and that is as an example in Europe. And the more close you are, Europe and most of the world, the more close you are to houses and to villages, there is also noise that comes from the turbines, and it's not noise, it's visual noise, and it's every time that turbine turns around, it will cast a shadow. So this sometimes needs to be implemented also to protect and to preserve the well-being of the neighboring houses. So that's why that's the biggest difference then.
Excellent. Thanks for that. So you remember, guys, I told you that, when obviously plan doesn't work according to what has obviously initially anticipated, we can always make up a new plan. I actually realized that I have Lolo here. Lolo, I'll put you on the spot. Hopefully you wouldn't mind, because Lolo, obviously, she's the co-founder working with Brian. I think it's just because we're going to have Brian here, so as the speaker with us. I just wondered whether you could, at least a few words, say what Solidity Power is, and maybe give us a little bit of understanding how you guys work. I know you do a lot more of solar, that's fine, but maybe you want to say a couple of words, because like I say, I owe that to Brian, because I wanted Brian to be here, but unfortunately due to load shedding, he can't do that. So can you hear me, Lolo? Are you up for it? Oh, she needs to be unmuted. Let me just do that, because I can't be giving you opportunity and not unmuting you, so that won't be fair. Oh, Lolo was here and then she disappeared. Okay, she's joining back. Not a problem. So okay, let me just see if she's here now. Yeah. Lolo, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tony. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. So I was saying that
Fantastic.
I'm just taking the opportunity, because obviously we can't afford to have Brian. If you can also play your camera for a second, that is, Afonso could find out from you, and maybe telling us a little bit more what Solidity Power is.
Hi, Afonso, and thank you very much for what has been an exciting presentation. I actually was going to have a question for Alfonso, Tony. And
you can take the chance to ask the question, absolutely.
Yes. Should I start with a question on introduction on who we are?
Maybe
let me start with introducing ourselves. So my name is Lolo, as Tony has introduced me, and I'm one of the co-founders at Solidity Power. We are a newly formed startup, and we are currently developing a 600 megawatt PV solar plant in South Africa, in the Northern Cape. But due to the current challenges in the Northern Cape, where there's currently no grid capacity, we've actually had to recently pivot to green hydrogen. But in addition to that, we've also included 150 megawatt of wind power. And I actually was going to ask you, because I've also read an article where it talks about, having two technologies on one side together. What would your thoughts be on that? I.e., you have your solar as well as wind, operating on one plant. So that's pretty much us at Solidity Power, and that's my question for you, Alfonso. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Lolo. Appreciate that. Brilliant question. By the way, I like your background, Lolo. It's almost like you were prepared. You were ready to jump on on stage. Good one. Good one. Afonso, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very interesting. I think that's a very interesting question, because that is the future. That is what we need to do. We need to when we look into renewables, we need to look at the footprint that we bring, the impact that we bring onto a field. So when we mount all these wind turbines, we install all these wind turbines, then the land is going to be, there's going to be areas in the land that cannot be worked anymore. There's roads, that there is the hard sand itself for the turbine, and there is areas that cannot be harvested anymore. So solar panels, put solar panels in there. The substation, the infrastructure is already there, so you can already produce power. It's just a matter of calculating, putting that into your planning, in your calculations when it comes to substations, transformers, and all of that grid capacity. And utilize that space that is already being built, utilize the machinery that is already there to build all the infrastructures for the wind turbines. You need less infrastructures for the solar, less compared to the wind, and use that power. It's something that we are starting to see. I'm starting to see with some of the clients. One of the clients that I'm actually involved with, and they are already doing that, or starting to approach that, and it's the best way forward. It's the way forward. Actually, I'll tell you something else. The next step is to go into wind, solar, and the capacity banks. Get those batteries in there, which is a technology that also exists already.
Yeah, excellent. I think Lolo she wanted to raise her hand because she wanna come back.
More
Lolo,
questions.
yeah. That's good. So I'm just gonna ask you to unmute, Lolo, and I can lower your hands. But take it forward, Lolo.
Hi, Afonso. Another question that I just want to quickly pose at you is, how stringent are regulations in your country in terms of environmental impact studies? Because I understand, and I speak, this is where you'd advise here. Wind technology in comparison to solar PV, it's always, how shall I say, more adverse to things like such as bird studies, and you find that a lot of wind projects, when it comes to environmental impact studies, that is always the biggest thing with wind projects. So how stringent are your regulations in your country? And I'll tell you where I'm going with this question. We have in South Africa, they've just relaxed, if I can put it like that, regulations in terms of environmental impact studies for solar or wind projects, where based on your site, you are, if you do qualify, that is, some of the studies would be exempted, from your project. So in your country, how stringent are the regulations when it comes to environmental processes for developing wind farms?
Yeah. So it's much more when we compare it. I don't like to make that comparison one-to-one, wind versus solar, because then it sounds like I am promoting one and not the other one. Both of them are very important, and both of them play that big role within renewables and are the way forward. I think the future. The wind is more restricted, and it's more complicated when it comes to the environmental impact. Even before starting the projects, when the project is under analysis phases and on the permit requesting phases, the wind has more or a bigger impact on the wildlife. For sure it has. Some countries, and if we go into Nordic countries, for example, where the natural spring water, it's still preserved, it's still very it's still, when I say still, is because it's not unknown, right? Some countries, the natural water, the natural spring sources, they are polluted already. So, but some other countries in the Nordics, where it's still very natural, it's not complicated, but there are stricter measures that need to be taken into account when we do anything that is involved, from the civil works until the construction. And then, of course, we also have the wildlife protected specimens, protected animals that need that natural. We need to protect them. We cannot be building, and it's maybe a little bit counterproductive here. What sounds a little bit counterproductive, but we cannot be building on a renewable, sustainable energy if we neglect the nature. We cannot do that. And we need to be able to follow those guidelines and make sure that we protect them. That is, of course, and I'm, forgive me my ignorance here, but perhaps in African countries, you have a wider open space for building wind farms compared to European countries. That's simply because of the dense population that we see in most of the European countries. When it comes to that, it's also a little bit more strict because of, like I said earlier on, the noise. It's not noises in noise, but it's noises in visual pollution that the turbines do create. So that also needs to be taken into account. When it comes to solar, we don't see them. They are just flat on the ground and they are mounted, or they are on a roof. We see that quite often more in the Nordic countries, but also in Southern Europe. The roofs of industry, of plants, they are fully mounted with even some supermarkets on the car parking area. The roof for the parking area, it's solar panels. So you can use that space. You wouldn't be able to do that with a wind farm without having to go through all the permits for the noise, for the visual interference that it brings. It casts shadow every time it turns if the sun is in a certain area. So that's yeah. I would say it's more or less the same. I don't know how strict it is in South Africa, but it will follow, I believe, more or less the same guidelines. Also, from some friends I have in Australia, they have the same guidelines more or less as we have in Europe. So, yeah.
Okay, excellent. That's nice. Just want to say one thing to you guys. By the way, so if some of you have some question, for example, Lola, I could see that there's a few questions that you probably wanted to go through with Afonso. So I'm just going to ask one of my team, Rashid, Brian, or Janet, if you can drop the link here. So I would urge you guys to book a one-to-one meeting with Afonso to run to, because obviously Afonso has been working to multiple $1 million questions, because wind farm, those are actually big projects, and the size of project that we see and I know a little bit because I've worked a little bit in the offshore wind sector in the UK. So we're talking about project worth anything between 50 million all the way to sometimes 200 millions. Yeah. And when you have guys like AFF, so running that site, with so many interactions, different people coming in, you need to handle them, making sure that everything goes to plan. It could be very stressful. That I can tell you. You need to understand logistics. So you may be going through a similar kind of a scenario in your project. So whether we talk about wind, biomass, hydro, whatever, if you want to have a one-to-one question with somebody who's very experienced doing it, across sites, because I think, how many sites you handling at the moment? Afonso, probably 4 or 5, more than that, yeah. So.
We are running 7 projects now at the moment. We're starting another one in the summer, yeah.
There you go. And I know you recently as well won a new project. So if you want to have some one-on-one conversation with Afonso, so I'll ask the team to drop a link there. So I would urge you guys to please take it, because it may be helpful for you just to run through some questions, and you could see if Afonso can help you avoid some very costly mistakes. Yeah, and that would be good. And the nice thing as well, which I've talked to Afonso about, and then for people that are courageous enough to make it happen, and hopefully will not be wasting unnecessary time. So Afonso has prepared a document for you with 5 key steps that you need to go through in order to run such a project successfully. So you may want to have that. So obviously, as soon as you book the meeting, you're going to have it as a bonus. So please, drop an email. So Lolo, book a meeting with Afonso. So I'm sure he'll be happy to talk to you about that. So this is what I wanted to say. Please take that forward. So is there any questions? So have we put the link in the chat? I can't see that just yet because I think my screen is a little bit funny, but hopefully the team can see that.
Yes, Tony, the link has been dropped in the chat.
Okay, excellent, brilliant, thank you. I know you guys are always on point. So guys, let me just say thank you to my team here. So I know I'm here doing the webinar, having fun with the speakers, but I definitely won't be able to run it if I don't have guys in the background like Rashid, Janet, or Brad, who really work hard to put things together and moving that forward and looking across, because we are on Zoom. Then we have also YouTube, and on LinkedIn we have more than 100 people that also signed up there. So we need to handle all of that. So excellent. But is there any other questions that we want to go through? So like I say, well, we can go all the way to 12:30. We could finish early. Obviously, we prefer to finish early. But I would like to see, Rashid, do we have another question? I'm sure I've seen some other question, and we're going to do the same thing. I like the person just to ask the question either on camera, or if your camera is not working, you prefer to stay just on audio, that's fine as well. Any other questions? Raise your hand. We give you the mic and we'll allow you to speak. But make your time useful. Any question that somebody will have? Is there any question that you could see on the chat? If you don't see that, I probably have as well some additional. Rashid, do you see any question? Otherwise, I was just going to go.
Yes, Tony, there's one by Moses.
Okay.
There's one question by Moses here. He's asking, how do you mitigate the risk of Earth magnetic field distortion of Wi-Fi signals that may result from wind turbine operations?
That somebody is very technical here. So is Moses, is it here? Yeah, it's here. Come on. Moses Palomo. Let me unmute you. You know, you're big enough to ask the question.
How are you?
I'm very good. But I can't see you yet. So I'm not fully happy. I want to see you. Yeah. We family here. Yeah, that's
cool.
That's
you can see me now, right?
Sorry?
Yeah, my camera should be turned on. My camera is turning on, but I can't see you. But I will try my best for you to see me. I'm trying to.
Yeah, we can't see you, but that's fine. We can hear you.
Can you see me now?
I can't see you, unfortunately.
Can you see me now?
No, it's still showing that the camera is off.
This is really amazing for us. Oh my God.
That's
yeah. Thanks, Alonso, for your nice technical consulting and advisory. So my question is the scientific aspect of science of wind turbine, whereby the Earth magnetic field has been actually been researched in the US, in the National Atmospheric Center in the US, that if you put it in a particular place, that the Earth magnetic field will be distorted and Wi-Fi signal can be reduced. So how do you mitigate against that type of distortion that can be really upsetting for residents around some of those areas?
Okay, that's a very technical question. So let's see if Afonso is up for it. Afonso, you're a man of many skills, many talent. Can you handle it?
I'll try. That's a very interesting question, and it. I guess the question or the magnetic field will not only go into in theory, or maybe not only in theory. It will not only go into interference with the Wi-Fi, but eventually it will interfere with us human beings, because eventually we are beings of energy, and we are exposed to all of that. But no, I cannot answer on if we do any mitigation for that. Not that I know of. The only mitigation, or the only measurements that we take, or the procedures that we take, is of course when it comes to all the electrical cabinets and the electrical measurement units. They're all connected and discharged correctly, so that there is no electrical fields or electrical disturbance, if you may say so. If that's caused by the magnetic field changes or not, perhaps in a non-direct way, perhaps yes. Simply electricity, as you know, and the transformer and then the way that we transform electricity, it just does create a magnetic field around all those cables. and it does cause electrical interference and electric disturbance, which can, of course, then have a negative impact on sensors, on monitoring sensors, and so on. But for the Wi-Fi itself, not that I know of. For us persons, being electrical beings that we are, no, not that I know of. I'm sorry, I don't have that full answer for that.
Okay, that's a good and honest. Is it sufficient enough for you, Moses? Or by the way, we could see you, but we could see you right now. So that's
yeah.
Great. So, but
yeah, you can see me there. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But that is a lot of concern that most rural area with very low Wi-Fi signals, the Witon by actually interfere with their connectivity to the internet, and I think it's a new scientific discovery in the field. So I strongly believe there will be other measures in terms of the magnet on the Witon itself, how they can introduce a lot of rare earth metals to mitigate some of those risks which we propose now. So because the industry is moving so fast, and sometimes the old comers or the newcomer, they will be able to modify some of their projects in the future so that they don't have overhead costs in terms of their capex that is going to make the portfolio of those projects to have a low value in the market. But it's a great concern in the market, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So thanks for that. So as we say, so obviously Afonso has done the best he could to handle your questions, and we are grateful.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I'm just saying that that's fine. Thanks for that. So I think Afonso has done the best to handle the question. So as I say, if you have any further questions, when maybe that's a sector you're exploring, you're looking at potential project there, I would suggest just book a one-to-one with Afonso so you can have this conversation moving forward, and that'd be great. Is there any other question that we were able to see, Rashid?
It's on the chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Moses. I appreciate that. Rashid, were there any other question? I just want to make sure that I don't miss another question if there is any.
Yes, Sonny, there was also one by Kevin. Maybe okay. Kevin can.
Yeah, okay. Is Kevin still in the room? Let me just check that. Is there Kevin? Oh, Kevin. Okay, Kevin is not in the room anymore. But can you read Kevin's question, because we're gonna share the recording of people all the people that signed up, and hopefully can get his response. So can you read that for Afonso, please?
Right. So he goes, Africa is experiencing significant growth and development, and within Kenya, we are making strides in harnessing geothermal energy from various locations across the country. Moreover, plans are underway for the exploration of nuclear energy by the nuclear group. We are optimistic that by the year 2030, every Kenyan will have access to reliable electricity through connection to the national grid. Okay, I guess this is just a contribution he was making.
Okay, yeah. So it's a contribution.
So this one.
Yeah, go on.
Right. There's another one here by Noor Gudana, if I got the name right.
Yeah,
he's asking.
Yeah, Noor is here. Let me just let Noor to ask the question. I'm gonna unmute him. So Noor, are you here? Yeah. So I can hear you now. So can we see you by any chance?
Sorry, I'm not in a position to put on my video.
That's okay. You need some makeup next time.
Unfortunately. So my question is, we are also doing a lot of solar energy, and I'm interested in knowing how or what is the benefits of this wind energy, especially in Kenya, compared to the solar energy that we have been doing around. So, and then also in terms of the location, is it something that can be applicable anywhere, or there is specific locations or sites where the wind energy is going to work? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to jump on it before Afonso respond. But Afonso sort of provided part of the response already, but I'm sure he will want to go into a bit more detail, because I always want to reward people that have the courage to ask questions and people that stay all the way to the end. Guys, by the way, we have another 5-10 minutes and we can wrap up. So the question here, the answer here would be the complementarity. Yeah, so that's what Afonso said before. So there isn't any one solution that will solve whatever energy source that you take in the world. That one energy source will never solve all the issue we're having with regard to power or meet all demand. Definitely not. Because if you look at the topography of different regions, you will see that the resource is not necessarily abundant to the same level, right? And Kenya is fortunate enough to be in a position where there's sun. Okay, there's sun everywhere in Africa, but also there's good wind, right? Because if some of you were wanted to figure out what are the wind markets in Africa, so I can immediately tell you. So you have South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, so Egypt, Morocco, and a little bit of Senegal, and that is coming up, right? So these are the wind markets that you see. So the complementarity is very much important. And also, at times you will see when the sun is down, wind could be blowing, so you should be using it. Yeah, but let me not give all the answer, because it's not my my turn just to provide all these answers. But Afonso, okay, you want to say a couple of words there?
Yeah, no, you said it all, Tony. I would just like to add on that, and that is towards if it can be placed, if a wind turbine can be placed anywhere, or if it needs a particular circumstances or area, it just needs the wind. Of course, there is areas where there is very high wind, and there is areas where there is lower wind, or sometimes the wind is at the higher level or a lower level. But the wind business, the wind industry, with several different manufacturers, they are able to overcome that, meaning that we can build higher, we can build lower. For low wind circumstances, we can put larger blades in place, which has a larger diameter, and it can pick up lower wind speeds. So the solutions are there. And like Tony says, like you say, Tony, complement each other. Take the best worlds, the best from two worlds, and make it happen. That's the way to go forward.
Excellent. So, and hopefully that's clear for you, Nu. And by the way, thank you for your question. We appreciate that. So only a few minutes for us to go. Is there one last burning question that somebody has? I want to make sure that we tackle that before we call it today. I have my friend, a couple of good friends here. Tambu is connected, and Jacinda also is connected. Welcome, guys. So like I say, we almost wrapping up in here. But do you have any questions? So who we have in here, Afonso. Afonso will be working in the wind sector for the last 20 years or so, and obviously very experienced running 7 sites, pardon me, and obviously now tapping more and more into Africa. So is there any key question that one of you may have, and we can ask to Afonso? We're going to have obviously Brian with us. Brian's has some load shedding, and that's the reason we're having conversation like today, right? So how can we solve it? But fortunately, Lolo was able to step up. Lolo she's a co-founder with Brian. She was able to step up and give us some information about. Oh, Jacinda raised a hand. Excellent. Okay, Jacinda, you probably want to unmute yourself, show your camera if you can, and ask a question to Afonso, and that'd be great. By the way, Jacinda, thank you for the meeting. You invited me recently too, so the networks, yeah, that'd be good. But let me unmute you, and then you could then ask your question. I'll do that right now. I'll lower your hand and I unmute you. And you can also show your camera if you can. Oh, does it not work? You should be unmuted now, right? Can you see? Okay. Now
okay, there we go. Thank you so much, Tony. Let's see if yes, so it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm sorry I came a little late, so I don't know if I missed this, but just to know, is there a role for the carbon markets in the wind energy expansion across the continent? I know many countries right now are developing country carbon market activation plans or carbon market regulations, and just wondering if that's one way we can help leverage some capital into speeding up the transition. Thanks.
Okay, excellent. And that's the question as well. I know I should be able to answer, but let me leave Afonso first tackling that, and I can step in.
I wouldn't, without going specific into the carbon market, but going a little bit into a different market that does two things. It produces energy, it produces electricity, and it gets away from it helps us getting rid of waste, of garbage. So 2 years ago, 2021 or 22, 2 years ago, we built a wind farm that was actually partially part of a waste management plant. And that client, they've been able to put the two of them together. So we're producing cleaner energy, and next to the turbine, there is also waste that is what you call that is burning. There's a specific name for it, but I can't come up with the name for now. Incinerated. That is incinerating all the waste material and transforming that into energy and electricity also. And yeah, so why not? I mean, it could be an option to blend the two of them.
Yeah. So, and let me ask you a question directly, Jacinda. And the answer to you is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. So you can actually, carbon market can definitely play a role. So if some of you, and by the way, I'm hoping that all of you have made sure that you follow us on social media, right? So YouTube, LinkedIn, all of that. Because what we're doing is very simple: spread awareness about renewables energy in Africa, but also across the globe, right? And we making sure that we showcase as many solutions as possible, as many brilliant companies, like for example, Afonso today, as possible, so that you guys can actually connect and move forward. And then obviously, at the moment, so engaging more with Sambu. So obviously, Sambu, maybe you want to say a couple of words after that, at least introducing who you are, because you and I engaging more and more. But in a nutshell, very much involved these days with all the carbon finance mechanism, right? Especially carbon market, carbon project, carbon credit, but also IREG. Yeah, for the IREG. So if you're on our mailing list, you would have seen that we've been circulating a number of times. So email, calling people, so owners of renewable energy assets, because there is a way for them that they could generate some additional revenue stream by simply now engaging with the scheme. Now, for the IREG, not all the countries in Africa qualify, but there's a good 13 to 14 countries that qualify. So in those countries, it's possible for them to potentially tap into that. And they simply have to get their project, which is called devices in the jargon of carbon market. So they have to get their project registered. As long as the project is operational, we talk about operational asset here. Obviously, there's a way for them to turn the energy consumption into renewable energy certificate and to sell that. You don't need to do all of that. All you need to do is, if you're one of those assets, reach out to me. We do the rest, right? As long as you are in a qualifying country. Now, IREG only operates in few markets. Carbon credit should operate in all markets. It takes a little bit more time to set it up. We're actually doing that for one of the projects in East Africa. So the question to you, Jacinda, absolutely for me, it could play a big role. And what we found out, that's why you could see that I'm more and more vocal about it, is that not a lot of people know that they can tap into those sources, right? And if you've been developing projects in Africa and across the globe, one of the challenges sometimes developers have is obviously, how can I get some additional money to help me develop more projects, right? So this is a very interesting way for them to do it, especially if they're fortunate enough to have already a project that is running. They can apply for carbon credit there, or to IREG if you qualify, get the money and use that as well to develop some further projects. So yeah, carbon market mechanism, it's a great tool, but it needs to be promoted a lot more. So yeah, so anybody getting involved into that, reach out to us. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna say. So I think Sambu, maybe I promise Sambu that I'm gonna get you to say a couple of words before we can wrap up. I just wanna, Sambu, can you hear me? Let me unmute you. Yeah, and quickly, and then you can say a couple of words and we can wrap up.
Hello, yeah, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Do you have your camera on, Sambu?
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's it. That's the
There we
man.
go. Okay, thank you. How are you? All okay, yeah?
Very good, very good.
Excellent. So yeah, I've been listening. The last point you've been touching right now about the carbon is a very interesting question as well coming, you know. So definitely that's a question of interest from us, from our side. We've been doing lots of research on it, not only in solar, but also in wind turbine, and how to tap into it for carbon credits. There are some countries that are, recognized to receive the carbon credits. We can also share information about it for anyone that need it. We got the list of standards, called the standard, the Clean Development Mechanism under the Kyoto Protocol, and it's something that we can share, definitely. But I do have a question for
Afonso.
Alfonso, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Alfredo, yeah. I've got a question for him, yeah. Basically, it's just a technical question, mainly from his experience and his team, how challenging they see the connection of wind turbines to the grids in African countries. You know, is that something, the reliability of supplying energy from wind turbines into the grids? You know, that's the main question I have. You know, understand a little bit about their experience on connecting to the grid in Africa with wind turbines.
Yeah. So I'm gonna allow Afonso to respond, but obviously because we're running out, I'm sure it's going to die very quickly. But
Sure.
Samuel, please do book a meeting. I'm just gonna arrange you to speak Afonso. You can do that. But maybe Afonso can have a quick word. Maybe not so much for Africa in detail, but also similar let's say territory where you've experienced same kind of thing, including also in Europe where sometimes the connection. So how do you deal with grid connection that a little bit tricky, Afonso?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge for wind production, for wind turbines when connecting to the grid, and it's not necessarily connecting to the grid, it's more what the grid has the capacity for. What capacity can it handle? Because the wind turbine, it will burn into anything. It will connect as long as there is electrical connection that it can start producing. Then it will just produce back, and it will just keep on putting power into the grid. And the question is more, how much can that grid handle, and how much output can that grid handle, and how much stable is it? If we are in an area where there is a lot of factories, a lot of engines, a lot of reactive power that is needed, then the grid by itself is going to be a little bit different. It's not unstable, but it does go down. There is peaks that goes down as soon as those factories connect, as soon as those engines connect, those electrical motors connect, and the turbines, even though they are producing, they need that stable power, and also overproducing. And that is something that then, if we are not consuming enough of the production that we're putting into the grid, if that grid does not have the network that it needs to, I mean, Europe is connected, all the countries are connected to each other. We are producing sometimes in Portugal and exporting it to other countries because the grid simply cannot take that. And it's called the island effect. It's called the island effect, where you have all that network and you can simply not take it. And then you can choose to burn it with capacitors, just have it burning into the wind, or you need to adapt your production, meaning that you need to have your turbine stopped when you are not taking that full capacity. And that is not really effective money-wise towards the investment. You can build a very big wind farm, but if your grid network is not made in such a way that you can sell to other countries, you can sell to other regions, then you're going to limit yourself. And eventually you have multi-million euro investment of a wind farm that you cannot harvest. You can maybe harvest only 50 or 60% if you're lucky. So the grid, and it's not only in Africa, it's everywhere. It's everywhere where we have that limitation. We have in the Nordic countries of Europe, where in the winter there's a lot of snow and ice, and then it starts to melt. With spring, the wind turbines, they are producing into a grid that is already over full of energy, because all the hydrics, they are all producing also. So those wind turbines, in theory, they should be stopped because they are just overloading the grid network. And that is where it's really important that as a continent, as a country, the network is not limited to the country itself, but it's connected to the full continent, and it's connected to other continents as well. That is the main challenge when it comes to grid connections. Because apart from technical grid connection, it's a transformer and a couple of cables. You make your capacity. It's going to be bigger ones or smaller ones, depending on how much capacity you have. But can you actually use that, or do you need to burn it? Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent. So, Sandra, I'm sure you have some follow-up question, but I'm sure you appreciate. I'm so important for me to respect your time. You're all very busy people, and then everyone respect that. But all I would say, please do use the link that the team has provided. Book a meeting, because Afonso is here just to share his extensive experience. You don't find that often people that are experienced in wind. And the thing is, what I usually say to people, if you have all that knowledge on wind, then solar become a piece of cake. because the reality, and I know because I've dealt with both, right? And as an engineer, I could say that, right? So please do book a meeting with Afonso, so have some further conversation, and we can take it further. So let me just please allow me, guys, to wrap up the meeting. So it has been a very interesting conversation. So where we found out a little bit more about you, Afonso, obviously what motivated you to starting from yourself, the quality that you have, to instill that into your company, AFF, to go from where you are, singleton, to now working with a team and running 7 sites and more, because I know that you get more projects coming your way, talking about how we can really be proactive in the management of those wind sites in order to make sure that we can increase significantly the profitability. And what is quite brilliant is actually in this intimate session that we had, we actually covered a lot of grounds. We talked about carbon credit, so we talked about hydrogen, so we talked about mixing different resources, obviously wind. So I think for me it was extremely rewarding, and I'm hoping that you have enjoyed, Afonso, but also all of you attending, especially people living right to the end. So for me, I'm really grateful to have you here supporting us every day. So moving forward, so we're going to have some more conversation, and most likely another webinar with Afonso. We see how busy he is. But if there is anything that you want to discuss further than that, reach out to me so we can take it further. So if you want to have as well some webinars on some specific topics, so reach out to me, Renewables in Africa. We can arrange that for you. So that's all I have to say. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for connecting. So I'm going to be leaving us in music, like we started, and probably leave the room running for another 5 minutes or so, and after that, I think we will close it. So thank you very much, everybody. So and thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all.
You